Hi, this is Anna Imagination, and welcome to the Ethical Asshole. I am your host, the Salty Bitch. So, this podcast is not a conspiracy. I was working on my last podcast, and I was having this thought about what's going on with the world today, and I then turned around and made some additions to the stages of societal change. And while I was putting all that together, I had this realization. Well, it was more of an upgrade that I really want to hone in on ethical education. This is like it's boom, we're going to talk about ethical education. So before I dive into ethical education, I want to address this podcast is not a conspiracy. I had it in my budget that I was going to spend a small fortune upgrading my YouTube channel. And then I went, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Not at all. And then I had a thought, I'm going to go ahead and spend a small fortune on ABC and upgrade the quality. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And the reason why is because as soon as you start pouring money into certain things to make them look awesome, it draws attention. I'm not sure if I really want that kind of attention right now. And I went, So my Instagram shop literally looks like a little apothecary in the game of Skyrim. At one point today, in fact, I did a Jedi lightsaber thing. It was fantastic. And it comes off very much as a storybook character come to life. And I went, wow, it's a really good disguise. And I'm sitting here under a podcast called This Podcast is Not a Conspiracy while I'm wearing a crown. See where I'm going with this? And I thought, it's a really good, amazing thing that I got here. And that's of course with my pirate space station. And I'm starting to see it all come together. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. And to top it off, my name is Anna Imagination of the Healing Garden. So I'm just like, yes, I can totally, I can do this. So I'm starting to understand my purpose in the world today, and I understand the contrast conflict. Oh, contrast conflict is a fucking bitch. Contrast conflict is when we are groomed to reject all contrast. You have to be oil or you have to be water. And I went, I'll be both. And I merged them together. So on ethical education. So I'm just going to get right into it. Take a look at the world today. This is Exhibit A of what happens when you do not have an ethical education. Ethics are a 2,000-year-old scientific study that is buried inside of a little discipline called philosophy. And philosophers are really, really well educated in what ethics are and what morals are, and we learn it in addition to theology, which is a completely different subject than ethics. I have 30 years in philosophy, which is another way of saying I have 30 years scientific study in ethics. And there's a lot of things that people don't know about morality and ethics. Now, the Christians about 2,000 years ago came out of the woodworks and made this decision for everybody that ethics is a religious subject. No, it's not. It is a human nature subject. It is literally embedded inside of the human subconscious mind, which we learn about in Pythagorean psychology and psychological physics. So this is amazing. And here it is right here. The emotion guilt is not discussed. It is discussed. The emotion guilt is not disgust of poison. It's poison, but not what people think it is. It is disgust of ethical integrity. That's what it really is. I have one example, and I don't want to use it because it really makes me sick. You know, when you're listening to certain things on the news and you hear something that is so vile and disgusting that it makes you throw up or it churns your stomach with disgust? because of an ethical violation. Ethics are inside of you. They're naturally there. You're born with them. You have to unlock them as you progress through an ethical education. And there's the problem. A lot of us did not go through the ethical education to unlock them. Some of us are at different ethical stages. And if you want to know what this is, Google spiral dynamics. This is them. So when you go through the ethical progression, the 12 ethical stages of human growth and evolution, you're actually unlocking advanced stages of emotions and ethics, and they're linked. Now, in psychology, you have a little something of criminal forensics that criminals do. Every criminal does this. They dehumanize their victims. The reason why they dehumanize their victims is to bypass guilt, which is how they're able to commit crime, is by using dehumanization on their victims so they can get around their ethics, because their ethics are there. A psychologist working with a criminal is actually humanizing their victim. This is what we're doing. They're humanizing their victims so that the criminal has to see the humanity. And when they do that, they feel the guilt, and then they can access the ethic. This is really, really important for you to know in ethical education. Really, really important. Now, I was 15 when I found all of this information. So I grew up studying ethical education. And I started to do a whole lot of scientific research and studying people and their relationship with ethics. And there are 12 ethical stages that will determine your values, determine your morals, determine what is important to you, determine who has authority, who has not. These are the 12 ethics. And they are so beautifully mathematical predictable that they're linked to the Fibonacci sequence, to physics, to chemistry, to biology, to DNA, to anatomy. They're everywhere. And when you start to break them down, you can see how every single thing literally revolves around these 12 ethics. Every divide that's occurring in the country is happening between people who are in the second ethic, religious people, people who are in the third ethic, I'm not going to start naming names, people who are in the fourth ethic, people who are in the fifth ethic, and people who are in the sixth ethic. That's it. There was this one thing I was watching where it's like, oh, conservatives are over here. Liberals are over here with their values, and conservatives are over here. And I'm going, yeah, that's the 12 ethics. You're getting a little closer, guys. It's you're literally progressing down the line. And so as you progress, you're actually growing. And this is a scientific fact. We just found out about 3 months ago, neuroscientists were able to prove that we have stopped evolving. Yes, this is the evolutional line, the 12 ethics. So you cannot force an ethic to be any different than what it is. It's a stage of growth. And there is a mathematical formula and a growth trial that every person has to go through. You're in one right now. You're born with this. You banging on pots and pans in your mom's kitchen when you were 1.5 years old was the 12 ethics. Every child does it. You dancing to some jiggy awesome music when you were 2 and it was cute, that's the second ethic. That's the second ethic. When you decide to rebel against your parents and say, you're not the boss of me, third ethic. When you're walking around tattling on everybody, well, they did this. Well, they broke the rules. They're not doing the rules. Fourth ethic. Doubting Thomas is fifth. So when you start going through the ethics, you start to see where everyone is. Now, here's the catch. Under no circumstance can you force anyone to grow faster. You can't. They're literally just children in a stage of growth. That's all it is. But no one knew about it. So you're sitting there and you're looking at these people and you're going, what's wrong with them? It's their stage of growth. And trauma freezes you in the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth stage. It freezes you there. And then you get stuck, which is why we stopped evolving. So that's really what's going on right now. is we're all stuck. Now, recently, there was a mental health movement where people went, oh, I got to be mentally healthy now. Yeah, you do. But when you start doing that, what you're really doing is you are restoring yourself back to the 12 ethical stages of progressive growth, and you're starting to go down the ethical journey again. And suddenly people change because they're moving and shifting from ethical perspective to ethical perspective. And as that progresses down the line, by the time you get to the sixth ethic, and that's why you're seeing a lot of people who suddenly are coming out of the closet, why you're suddenly see people, midlife crisis is this. The midlife crisis is when you reach the ethical perspective stage of 5 and you completely change your life around. Suddenly waking up going, I'm not going to be this religion anymore. That's you moving from the second to third ethic. You being a total asshole, suddenly being kind to people, that's you moving from third to fourth perspective. You living your entire life in mom's basement and suddenly waking up going, oh no, I need to go live my life. That's first to second. This is how we grow. Now, getting this information to people is getting it right into the schools. I already have it at the Healing Garden, so you can just go there and learn it. And it's literally sitting down with children in the schools to say, okay, this is the situation and this is the progression and this is where we all need to be. And it's making people aware at a very young age. And we were there when we were children, when we had 10-year-olds going, I don't understand why they got to act like that. Well, they're 2. You're 10, sweetheart. It's the same thing. You're a sixth perspective. They're a third perspective. That's all. That's all it is. They're hurting people. I know. Vegans hit at the sixth and seventh ethic. That's why they are what they are. That's why a lot of people are like, well, I'm not going to abandon meat. I'm all for meat. Well, yeah, it's your growth stage. That's why I'm a vegetarian, is because I'm at the sixth. It's all about ethical progression. But because we don't know this, we're all fighting over whose ethic is right. No one's ethic is right. No one's ethic is right. And no one's ethic is any of your business. That's a big deal. That's a really private thing. The thing is, every one of these things, every one of these quirks is a problem. Now, here's the other problem. Let's set that aside. Now you've got the what is ethical? What about abuse? Well, that doesn't mean they can abuse me. Look at the 12 ethics. When you look at the 12 ethics, it's actually the common denominators of all abuse in all the world. Every time someone abuses someone else, they are violating the 12 ethics. Every time someone is happy and they're having the best and perfect life, they're following all the 12 ethics over and over again. And when you learn the 12 ethics, they go in, they project in, and they also project out. I'm sorry, they internalize in and they also project out. So when you internalize the 12 ethics, it's you using them to keep yourself from harming others. And when other people come at you and they hurt you or they don't hurt you, you can look at the 12 ethics and go, are they violating the 12 ethics? They are. Okay, they're not good for me. They are honoring the 12 ethics. Okay, this is a good person. This is literally like the be all end all of good and evil in a beautiful mathematical formula that's right out of Mother Nature. They are 100% embedded in the 18 academic disciplines. They are 100% embedded, and they are scientific method, and they are your intuition. They are part of your psychology. They're part of your subconscious mind. They're part of your DNA. The list goes on. They're extraordinary. So when you start to learn the 12 ethics and you understand that this is all about ethical education, that ethical education is literally, thank you, dear, the answer. My daughter makes me dinner. It was so cute. Yesterday, I made her a potato. She goes, Mom, I'm really hungry. Can you make me dinner? I said, sure. So I was making her a potato and I threw onion and garlic right in the potato. I was making her a gourmet potato. And then she starts giggling and I looked over and she was making me a sandwich. And I'm like, she goes, that's so funny. She's like, you're making me food and I'm making you food. And I'm like, thank you. It was very sweet. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be like the thing from now on. I love that. I love that. So thank you, Lizzie. So this is what happens when you remove ethics from a culture. This is literally the only problem that's going on is ethics are not here. And there's some people with a lot of ethics and there's some people with no ethics at all. And there's some people with just a little bit ethics, but not enough. Yeah. And this is really it is we're going to have to shift. Bottom line is this is all about making that shift. And when you start to make the shift, things change. These change. And I'm going to go right through them. Like these ethics are courage to be vulnerable. That's literally the first ethic. It's self-nourishing yourself to the point of having courage to be vulnerable. That's also the first ingredient of trust. The second ethic is self-authority. I have a lot to say about this. The second ethic is like where I live. The third ethic is self-regulation. These three combined give you the first cardinal value, which is trust. Then you have personal law and boundaries, personal accountability, self-value, and equal footing. And these three things together give you justice. Then you have listening and observation, talking and transmission, sharing. This gives you human connection or empathy. I don't like to use the word empathy because everyone thinks they know what it is when they really don't. So I like to use the word compassionate foresight. It's thinking about how you could hurt other people before you open your mouth. That's what empathy used to mean back in the 80s before the woke community took it. Emotional fluidity is the 10th. Logic is the 11th. Forgiveness and no judgment. That is the 12th. And when you combine these ones together, I just learned it today, actually, and it's in my notes. And these are my notes. So I have to go through them and find it and go, where was it again? Because it was like, holy shit, it was amazing. And I wrote it in here, and then I just kept going through my flashcards. These flashcards are called Helix cards, and this is a really fantastic healing tool. I love this for a healing tool. So that all being said, when you are really stepping into the world of ethical education, it completely changes everything. The music and arts focuses on the first, second, and third ethic. Logic, theater, stage, reading, writing, and arithmetic, they focus on the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth ethic. Logic, math, and physics focuses heavily on the seventh, eighth, and ninth ethics, and theater, stage comes back for those ones also. Chemistry, biology, and physics and mathematics go real heavy with the 10th, 11th, and 12th ethic. Scientific method also is the emotional progression of the 12 ethics and also literally the academic progression of the 12 ethics. So you have scientific method, which is literally the how-to guide through the 12 ethics. You have the 12 ethics to mark literally to measure where you are in your progression. And then you have the academic disciplines, which is the playground on where you're going to apply the scientific method. You're supposed to be applying a scientific method to all of the academic disciplines as you go through them. Philosophy is a cradle. An academic cradle is a discipline that wraps around and includes all of them. Biology is an academic discipline. Is an academic cradle. It's supposed to wrap around all of them to integrate all of the disciplines together. Philosophy does that. Logic does that, and story does it. Those are the 4 academic disciplines: logic, story, philosophy, biology. So when you start to understand that you're supposed to be wrapping all of the disciplines together into these groupings so that you get a broader picture of what academia is and how to use it, you literally turn your education into a buffet that you literally just go through to learn the ethics, to discover who you are. The more you uncover the ethics, the more you know who you are. Now, by the time you are 5 and 6 years old, you already have about 5 of the core base ethics, and you're fine. All mental illness come for an obstruction of the first 3. If you miss the first one, the second one, or the third one, you will have mental illness. 100% of all mental illness comes from these 3 ethics being violated. Obstructed. Stopped growth, no more learning. And that's what's going on with our culture. And our entire system prior disrupted those first 3 ethics, which is why the majority of the population is stuck at the first, second, third, and fourth ethic. So when you step into this world, you are walking right into the 12 ethics. And fourth ethic is a big deal. The fourth ethic is your personal boundary. And there is no you putting the ethics on other people. If they don't adhere to where you are in the ethical lineup, you need to remove yourself from those people. And that is huge on the fourth ethic. So once you understand how to use the fourth ethic, you can find your people a lot easier, especially when you apply the sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth ethic. That's all about finding your people and connecting with them properly, using atomic health. And of course, they all tie into atomic health. It's absolutely a beautiful marriage. It's gorgeous how it all fits together. So this is something I'm going to be covering a lot here. It's all explained on my website at the Healing Garden, honnesthealinggarden.org. And I will talk to you later. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.